Hello, survivors! Welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. I'm your host, Geoffrey Card. Over here next to me is Brant Fitzgerald.
Hello.
We're going to be doing a lot of stuff on this stream today. So first off, we're going to be playing in Heartland, which you've got right here. We're sitting here at in Trumbull Valley at Jurassic Junction. We're going to be running around doing, I don't know, whatever Heartlandy stuff you feel like doing.
I'm going dino hunting.
Go dino hunting. You could also, maybe we should go around looking for like those weapon containers. Do you know where those are? I can't remember if you were involved in actually placing those in this map.
I mean, there's probably not.
Well, we can poke around and try to find some good loot. At the same time, we're also going to be looking at our community spotlight entries from the past month. We're going to be looking at the winners, announcing the official winners of our screenshot contest that we did for Halloween. And at the very end of the stream, we're going to be announcing to you folks what our next update is going to be. But you got to wait for that. You got to hang out with us and play some Heartland. So
which weapon container are you talking like the rare weapons?
Yeah, the super rare weapons. I don't know. I thought that might be kind of a fun thing to do that doesn't require everyone to be up on the story. We don't have to do that though. Well, I certainly don't know where they are.
I've immediately gotten my car stuck.
Well, that sounds great. So I think it looks like we can create our own adventure. We don't need to have a goal in particular. Nice. So we're playing as Quincy, who you all remember is one of the original heroes of this story, and he is our weapons expert.
And I just got the plague. I guess I got infected.
Just a little bit of the plague. You got some sickness in there, but you're not quite fully infected.
We're gonna show off one of our features.
Stuck.
The stuck feature.
The stuck feature, nice.
Because that's what makes for good entertainment, is watching me drive immediately into the gully.
So somebody in the chat, and I've just lost who it was, suggested that we should have a speedometer when we're driving. Problem is, we would probably just want to lie and tell you that you were going faster than you were going. It would be, the temptation would be a little bit too great.
The vehicles are, here's a little dev secret, the vehicles are tuned not specifically because of they're
the realistic speed of the car.
The realistic speed of the car. They're also tuned so that you don't drive faster than our ability to load the next area.
Yeah, we actually had an earlier version of the game where the cars went significantly faster, and you could really get yourself in trouble by driving into a wall at 120 miles an hour.
Oh yeah.
But the problem was, you could. I mean, right now sometimes you will still get sort of that darkening of the screen, a little icon on the bottom of the screen telling you that it's loading the next area. But that's pretty rare right now. It was happening all the time when we let you drive faster, and so we toned it way down. But I'm kind of impressed actually that the way that Foggy sort of tuned a lot of these values. I still feel like I'm going fast, even though I'm not going as fast as I used to go back in the very early days of the game. When I'm riding in one of those sports cars, I still feel like I'm just hauling.
Yeah, I mean, there's cars that will rip, and those are the ones that you often run into
the
loading issues a lot more. But I mean, it still feels good to be able to, you pick a sports car and it goes fast. But I mean, many people have commented on the speed of the cars, and there is a very good reason for it.
So Protender has an interesting question. If they made a State of Decay 2 movie, who would you cast as Sasquatch and Lily? I have not put any thought into this whatsoever. I don't know. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, maybe?
I want to say Matthew McConaughey has to be in there somewhere.
He seems more like Brock to me than Sasquatch.
Yeah, Sasquatch. John Krasinski.
I think
Dolph Lundgren. I don't know.
Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth might do a good job. I think he's played like Delta Force dudes before. I think I'd probably go with Mary Elizabeth Winstead for Lily, just because. I think because she was in.
She was in the greatest movie that's ever been movied ever.
10 Cloverfield Lane.
No.
Oh, what?
Scott Pilgrim.
Oh, that's right. She was in Scott Pilgrim. I just saw her in something recently too that she was really good, and now I
The
can't.
Thing.
No, it wasn't that though. I'm sure that's
2011
great. I didn't see that. What did I just see her in? Oh, now I'm gonna have to look it up on the internet. Well, you do something interesting, Brant, while I look up Mary Elizabeth Winstead on the internet.
Wow. Get her on the horn, man.
What was she in?
I don't know.
She was just in some. Oh, I saw her in Fargo. I really loved her in Fargo. And she's going to be in Birds of Prey. Gemini Man, that's what she was just in. Gemini Man. She was great in that. That movie was not perfect, but it had some really impressive stuff in it, and she was really good in it.
It wasn't perfect like Scott Pilgrim's perfect. That's for sure.
Scott Pilgrim was, one of my favorite movies of that era, which was, it was made a long time ago. I'm kind of surprised at how long ago.
Part of that statement was correct.
I can't believe how long ago that was.
It was the greatest movie that's ever been put to film.
Was it 15 years ago or something?
Come on.
It's ridiculous.
It's not that old.
I'm looking that up on the internet now. Scott Pilgrim.
You're purposefully trying to make me feel super old.
No, never mind. It was 2010. It was only 9 years ago.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. My kids were born. That's right. I remember when the Scott Pilgrim game came out. I used to play it with my kids when they were very little.
Great game.
It was really, really good.
I wish they'd update that because I love that game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. My kids are still into games from that time. They actually just beat Castle Crashers again. They've been playing it since they were toddlers, and they just all three of my girls were playing Castle Crashers together, and they beat the boss. And I remember when I used to have to carry them through the boss, but now they just annihilate them, and they just sat there dancing weirdly to the clown ending at the end. So,
well, it's good. Yeah, Warrior flamethrowers would be great, except we just talked about load issues and memory problems. And
giving you control over exactly how much fire, is in the level can be a problem.
Our game would instantly turn into just screenshots.
This is one of the things that when movie people are critical of games or wondering how come games have X and Y problems that we don't seem to have in movies as often. I'm like, realize that in a movie you get to edit your movie. You get to take all of your footage and then edit it and get it exactly the way you want it. In a game, the audience is the editor. The audience is the one who's in charge of how long everything takes, what you linger on, what you focus on, what you spend time on. All of these things you have a lot of control over is given to the audience. And similarly, your budget for things like fire, you control that when you're making a movie. In a game, if you give the player control over something, they can do whatever they want with it. I think we've talked before about how, as a Halo player on the original Xbox, I used to, have fun just smacking a dead grunt again and again, and they had no limit on the blood decals that they would put on the floor. And so eventually I would just reduce it to a 1 frame a second slideshow that way.
Yeah.
You give people control over that kind of thing, and they will destroy their own experience. So I feel like our chat is not updating. Oh, there we go. Okay. I think it's updating sporadically, so we're just getting sudden jumps ahead. Scarproof says I need to blow my nose. It's not that bad. You hear that? I can totally breathe through both of my nostrils.
Somebody else said it was all the coke you're doing.
That would be one explanation, aside from genetics, for why I talk as fast as I do. But in my case, it is actually genetics. It is not, I get this from my mother's side of the family. You get them into a room together, and it's just deafening for everyone else who is not an Allen, so.
Man, I actually don't know where the secret locations are.
Yeah, so I don't either, unfortunately. I was not an expert in this map. I was very focused on my own narrow part of it, which was making the side recruit missions. That was I did that, and I was making the traits of the characters. And so anything that wasn't those two things, I was not worried about at the time. JB Gomez has a question. Do y'all have employees at Undead Labs with military experience who serve as consultants? So when people at the company have some kind of life experience that could make them an expert, we avoid requiring them to step in and act as an expert if they're not comfortable with it or if they don't feel like it. But now and then, we've definitely gotten feedback from folks here at the studio who've got military experience that we described something wrong. In fact, I think there is still something a little bit wrong in the way that I think it's in the traits of, I can't think of his name, the military guy in Heartland. What is his name? Whatever. Anyway, that dude. There's something in his traits that is actually. His background, having been a drill sergeant, but then being a commissioned officer now. That I learned after the fact that description is actually not. That is a very uncommon career path for someone to take. Very, very, very uncommon. And unfortunately, I learned that later after we had shipped Heartland from folks at the studio who had military experience, and so I keep thinking I should revise that at some point, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. But yeah, I don't have military experience, and so we rely on that. Occasionally, we've also gone outside the company to formally get military consultants to help us with things like Lifeline, which had a very heavy military component.
Yeah, we had a Marine friend of ours who also helped us with some of the firearm training and stuff.
Yeah.
Took a look at some of it, but honestly, we really didn't have the budget to hire somebody, and I don't want to take advantage of people. My military experience was 35 years ago now, and so it's completely useless.
Yeah, the military, does its best to change with the times and update with, new theories and just, with exploring the new landscape of, of situations they could get into. And so, yeah, so military experience is one of the faster changing things in human culture.
Well, and one of the real big areas that I won't say we were lacking. Well, sure we were lacking, but whoa,
Hi. Hello.
Hey, you need to stop eating the burritos. Is communications, right? I don't, unless you're, in the military or a comm specialist, keeping up on protocols for using communications.
Oh,
over the radio.
like how you should sound on the radio. Yeah.
What you actually
do not
say.
hit that one.
I'm not going to.
Okay, good.
I'm going to make him fall over, though, because that's funny.
Boink.
I really wish I remembered where.
So John 4311 asks, is it possible to give us underground bunkers with our current system? We explored that idea a little bit. I really liked the idea. We had this thought of doing a base that was a secret FEMA bunker, where basically it looks like a very small, like a strip mall office or something, like a little government office on the surface. But then when you go inside, it's got like 3 stories of bunker underneath it.
So I actually did a proof of concept for an underground bunker, and we got it working, but the biggest problem is lighting.
Right.
The biggest problem for that was actually the terrain detail, like the level of detail that we can actually project the terrain at was problematic, in that we're not getting the fidelity on the spacing between verts on the ground to allow us to dig out in a way that made it useful. We'd have a lot of problems with zombies spawning under the ground and things like that. But the main one was actually getting lighting to work in there with our lighting system.
I imagine that the audio team would probably also have wanted to do things very differently in an underground bunker than they would anywhere else in the game, and that might have raised some new technical issues too. I don't know if we even got to that point yet, though, of examining audio.
No, we didn't. The audio was certainly not the limiter in that. I'm sure those guys could have come up with some genius hack job, right, to make it work. But lighting would have been a nightmare for us in there because we don't have a lot of lights in the world, obviously, and lights for us are extremely expensive, especially shadow casters and things like that. So it would have probably ended up being like a load-in, and that's one of those things that we have always tried to avoid.
Yeah. So Wolfo88 wants to know, how hard is it to get a job at Undead Labs, even to be one of the game testers that look for bugs or something that needs to be fixed? The testers that we hire to work with us in-house are all actually pretty seasoned professionals. We're not just hiring random people off the street, but we're hiring people who have been doing game testing for a while and are very good at it. Because game testing, it's not like when we go out and we do like broader play tests with sort of random players off the street to try to find problems and watch their analytics and see what goes on inside their games. That's one level of where you don't have to have a lot of experience to do that kind of testing work, but the kind of testing work we do in-house where the tester needs to really have a good technical understanding of how the game comes together so they can sort of not just report when bad things happen, but also have some sense of who it belongs to, where to send the bugs, how to explain them in a way that makes sense to the people who are going to be receiving them. There is a lot of skill and time that goes into it, so it's actually not as much of an entry level job as you might imagine when you first start picturing it.
It's a very technical job,
And it requires really great communication skills, too. You have to be a very good writer in order to explain the things that you're finding in a way that somebody else can replicate it exactly the way that you experienced it. So that said, yeah, so we do tend to hire primarily people who are veterans in the game industry or have spent a lot of time here because we have a very small team by the standards of the genre that we work in. Yes, just barely. By the standards of open world games, which we're up here with Ubisoft and Rockstar, we have a very small team, and so every single person on the team has to really know what they're doing, and it's difficult for us to hire folks who don't have a lot of experience because it actually takes training someone new actually takes a lot of time from the veterans that are on the team. That said, that doesn't mean that as we eventually grow to keep expanding this franchise and taking it further, the bigger our team gets, the more reasonable it becomes for us to hire people with maybe smaller specialties, less broad experience, less veterancy, and so it might become sort of more possible for someone to sort of set working at Undead Labs as a goal and get there. But certainly, right now, I would say that if you're not in the game industry at all, there are there's a lot of things you can do to try to get in. Some of it, I would say, if you're young, I would say, go to college studying one of the disciplines that are involved in the game industry, art or programming, or there's even some schools that offer game design, audio. These are all things that you can learn in school, get a lot of experience with, and then look for entry-level jobs throughout the industry. I know, for instance, I worked at a company that made, work for hire games based on children's movies and mobile games, like free-to-play kind of copycat mobile games for 11 years before I landed the job at Undead Labs. And so that's the kind of thing that studios like Undead Labs are looking for a lot of the time is, have you sort of paid your dues working in other places and learning your craft so that you can immediately arrive here and start performing at a really high level. Thomas Gald says, I've played so much that my characters no longer give backstory conversations and traits. Any way I could get these back? That actually is kind of gratifying to hear because for a long time, especially early in the game, mostly what we were hearing is, can you stop giving us traits and backstory conversations because they're driving me crazy? And so hearing a positive comment about them, wanting them back is actually very gratifying. That's a very good point. I should look into that. I'll make a note that we should look into seeing if there's a way to sort of start recycling those things, because we do try to prevent people from just sort of hearing the same stories again and again and again. We wanted to avoid repetition. There were some lines that we had in the original State of Decay that got a really negative reaction from people because they got repeated so often. So we kind of erred on the side of not repeating things if we could help it. But we should look into seeing if there's a way that we can, if you want to start hearing that stuff again or kind of push the reset button on it, see if we can make it happen again. So I'll keep that in mind. So, you know what? It is like 3:19. We should get into at least one of our first presentations here. So let's look at our Community Spotlight event that we just did. So Community Spotlight, it's taken on different forms for the past little while, but the most recent one we did, we basically prompted people to show us their favorite go-to survivor, the one that they are most committed to, that they're most involved with throughout their time playing State of Decay 2. And we had several different submissions for this, and so the very first one I want to show is from Beats and Buttons, who is going by a temporary Halloween name on Twitter right now and needs to remember to change it back because it's November. So now it's time to change to your Thanksgiving Twitter handle. I am currently Turkey Card on Twitter, and I don't think anyone else is actually doing Thanksgiving. Anyway, so let me look at my notes here. So Beats and Buttons.
I've never changed my Twitter name.
This is the first time I've ever done it. I decided to do it on a holiday that no one else does.
Gotcha.
Just because then I feel special. Anyway, Beats and Buttons says, this is Adam Beeman. He's a sheriff. He believes in keeping pests under control, even the zombie apocalypse. He knows being a leader means being a provider, so he provides extra food storage to keep his family fed, and he looks good doing it. So there he is, and he's posing there with a slightly less attractive combat dummy. So there we go. That is Beats and Buttons' dude. Let's see who else we have here. So Kyoko Mori made a submission. This is she called She called this character, Cortney, her absolute unit. Veteran of 5 settlements, currently working on number 6, only survivor of the first 3 I made. She's been in the front lines of every major combat mission and come out breathing. 30 plus Plague Heart kills to her credit, and is just a staple of any game. So that is hardcore. I'm sure she's had this particular set of skills for a very long time. She probably maxed them out in her very first game.
Probably.
But look, she's a shop teacher. She grew up poor. She's tough, and she lives on pasta, which that just makes me happy. Because those first 3 are things that I don't have, but that last one is just a little bit of me in that character. So that's basic. Lived on pasta is based on me when I was a child, and also my middle daughter. So who else do we have here? We've got Liam Burns. So Liam Burns showed us this character. This is George McMillan. George has been with me since my first playthrough. He's a trader, and because I finished the Legacy arc with the unlimited tiredness on, he never fatigues ever, and it's not a trait, so I can play for days with him and not need to change him to the community member ever. So we had a bug early on in the game where a character could basically permanently be put into no tiredness mode because of a Legacy, and this character's got it and is going to preserve it forever, and that kind of makes me happy. It is actually a trait. Under the surface, that is a trait that's been assigned to this character and never taken away from him. It's a hidden trait that we don't surface to you right here, but that's hilarious, and thanks for sharing that, Liam. I'm gonna cough.
First person mode is not on the list of things that we're looking at right now.
Yeah, first person mode would mean kind of reanimating the characters, and things like our spinning sword moves could be really weird.
Yeah. It would be reanimating, it would be reauthoring most of our content to allow for that perspective, and that's just not happening.
So the next person we're going to look at, Sailor Wolf, shared this character with us. This is Zero. Trish Bell is her real name, but let's see here. Zero is the hero. He calls her Zero the hero. Zero the hero is my go-to survivor. She's deadly with a blade and carries an M4A1 plus a Timberwolf. She was voted most deadliest woman in the apocalypse by Zombie Times magazine. So... She does look pretty. She's like cracking her knuckles right now, raring to go. So yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Sailor, no, he's been around since day one, since before day one.
Yeah, Sailor Wolf is one of our favorites. And then we've got here, I don't know whether this is Micros or Micros, so I apologize for whichever one it is. But we've got this lovely profile of Home Fries. So Home Fries, she's a badass Latina who served in the armed forces, and my 8-year-old daughter absolutely loves her. She won't allow me to start a new community without her. So you see her name's Teresa Munoz. She's a fry cook, attended grad school, did trampoline stunts, and keeps hidden pouches. She's got a lot of those weird traits that sort of give you like unusual advantages you don't get other places.
I feel like if my life had those traits, it would have been a much more interesting and exciting life.
Yeah, especially did trampoline stunts was like me expressing my jealousy of people who actually could do that. As a kid, I had friends who could just do all kinds of flips and stuff in the trampoline, and I was always like, that is terrifying. Of course, my mom filled my brain with stories of friends of hers who'd been like crippled and things on trampolines. And so I was just always like, I will jump straight up and down and try to stay as upright as possible.
I even injured myself doing that.
And look, she's got the Eternal Guard's Infinite Rage, everybody's favorite gun. And then our last submission we were going to share, this is from AKSK8, and they wanted to share, we're kind of in the way of his name here, sorry about that. But this is Sharp, the sharpest Red Talon operator. You mess with the best, you die like the rest. And this is his name is Santiago Sharp. He's got utility vests, which makes everybody's loads lighter. And he's a diehard veteran, firearms enthusiast, officer material, and a Red Talon contractor. And AK said, this guy is the best in my Red Talon squad. His hero skill is very helpful, but if I can, I want to remove that Red Talon contractor trait because it takes forever to level him up in Nightmare, because that slows down their progression.
Yeah.
The thing is, he's also got the best set of skills you can possibly have in the game, so that is kind of the cost. That was the intent, is that if you want to have somebody with these skills, the downside is they do take forever to level up. So sorry about that, but I don't think we're going to change that anytime soon, unless you learn to mod, in which case, whatever, that's off our plate. But thank you.
Are all the character voice lines used, or is it like the faces where some are not used?
So yeah, with the faces, so I think that we've talked about the fact that we scanned a lot more faces than we've actually put in the game so far. And similarly, yeah, our voice lines, we're planning on having Andy Collins in here next week as our guest, and he could probably tell us the exact number, but it's something like 20 to 30% of the lines that we recorded were not used in the game because they were written for features that either were not completed in the exact way we were imagining when we wrote the lines, or things like that, where it's like, we wrote a line, we recorded it, we thought we were going to use it, and then something about the game changed and it became impossible. And so now that we've been updating the game over time, now and then we get chances to sneak in some of those lines that originally weren't used. But it's sort of a little bit of a piecemeal thing. But you could probably, I don't know, if you were digging through our files, you could probably find a lot of voice lines that just don't apply to the game at all.
Jack Purchase, I've been playing my game at home on my Xbox One X, and I have never run into that issue. You may want to talk about, or you may want to get a hold of
support.stateofdecay.com. Is that where you should go?
Yeah.
So we can probably go back to playing the game at least for a few more minutes until it's time to announce our contest winners, which will be like in 5 minutes. But yeah, support.stateofdecay.com is where you should go if you're having some kind of irresolvable bug that's messing up your experience. Because Joe Swarner, who runs that site, he either will know a good workaround to help get you past it, or he's got the ear of the team, and he'll be able to sort of to take whatever bugs are bothering the community the most and fast track them and get them on our radar so that we can fix them as soon as we can. Let's see here. Merlin21C wants to know, what is the current cap on community size? Are there any plans to expand? So the cap is complicated and kind of unnecessarily so. It is necessary right now, but when I look at it, I'm like, there's got to be a better way that we could be doing this. So the cap is 9, except there are certain missions, particularly legacy missions, that allow you to exceed 9. Because the mission wouldn't work otherwise if you weren't allowed to recruit people. And so you can get up to, I think 12 is actually the hard limit. It is conceivably possible for us to go a little bit larger than that, but what I really want to do at some point is sort of re-examine the way that system works entirely, because right now it is just extremely opaque. You just, you recruit, you get up to 9 people, and then suddenly you just no longer have any opportunities to recruit anymore. And it's not very clear how it works. We don't communicate very well with players who are trying to expand their communities, and I think we could do a lot better. And so I would love at some point in the future to revisit that system and see if we can make it more user friendly. And at the same time, maybe even if we just simplified it so that it was one number across the board, that number might be higher than the current minimum, and so maybe it would give you some of what you're looking for. So no promises about exactly when that can happen, but that is something that's very high on my personal list of like things that I sort of look at the game and I'm like, what are we doing? That particular system probably could use an upgrade. But that's why we're glad that we can keep supporting the game after release. Why we're glad that that Microsoft is basically signed on for us to continue supporting this game long after its release date, because we're going to keep hearing comments like that from folks, and we're going to keep getting feedback and that helps us understand what about the game is most important for us to improve. And if and the more we hear that, the more we want to improve it. And so having the opportunity is great. And so there's other stuff that we're working on right now that I think once you hear about it all, I think you'll be pretty excited about it. But that's one that I would love to sort of tack onto the end of that list at some point, because we really should get there. Whenever I hit that limit, it annoys me because I'm like, can't we do this better? But, it's one of the great things about this era in the game industry is that you actually are not, once you ship, you're not just, doomed to whatever it is you put in the box, like it was, when both of us, started in the industry ages ago.
Yeah, I never actually worked on a game that was like a cartridge, but I can imagine that being like one of the scariest things ever is going Gold Master on your cartridge.
Where it's like a unique circuit board that is being manufactured.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way to patch that.
Nope.
Well, it is 3:30, and so that was when I was imagining we would go over our contest winners. And so for those of you who remember, for the end of October, we were running this screenshot contest to celebrate the arrival of the Swine and Bovine costume, which was unlocked at the end of October. You'll note, by the way, if you log into the game now, you can no longer get the Swine and Bovine costume. So it's kind of past its date. We got it.
I got contacted by one of our longtime players yesterday. She was out for a week, and she goes,
and missed it.
What did I miss?
Oh no!
I was like, maybe next year.
Yeah, so we definitely aren't thinking that this is a completely one-time thing that will never, ever, ever, ever have an opportunity to come back. We don't have any specific plans for when and how we would bring it back, but it's not crazy to imagine there might be other opportunities in the future. But for now, this was how to get it. And so we tried to draw as much attention to it as we could, especially with this screenshot contest. And so the idea was there was a series of 6 clues that were like riddles, and people could so basically submit a screenshot as an answer to each clue. And the best array of screenshots we got that did the best job of figuring out what we were looking for and also presenting us with a lovely screenshot were the winners. And so I want to start with our grand prize winner because he went so all out in presenting his screenshots to us that it's kind of it's a nice splashy way to start the contest. So let's check out our grand prize winner and what he presented to us.
Hey, take a look at this.
I laughed out loud to myself.
Always with the sign off.
Yep.
So, for those of you who didn't recognize the character in the last screenshot, that is Adam Survives. He is one of our longtime favorite players, and his face is in the game, and so he loves to involve his own character in it. So that was him standing behind the counter. And
he's local, so Adam, give me a call. We'll go out to lunch.
So, of course, Adam, he delivered an amazing set of screenshots, and this is a series. So this is the first one he did. Let me see. So the first clue was lunch rush. That's a lot of hungry Santa Mayan customers. So we had to go to a particular Swine and Bovine and show how crowded it was, and so pulled that off.
Are we updating? I don't know if chat's updating anymore.
We might not be seeing. Let me reload our chat just in case.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, sometimes our chat dies on us. Sorry, everybody, if we've been falling behind. Adam's second screenshot, this one was the DriveThru. 3 pork belly patties and a large fry. That'll be 175 influence at the next window. So basically, we were looking for somebody depicting the DriveThru, and this is kind of not the best car to be taken to the DriveThru, but definitely you can see the occupant, which is kind of the star of the show. And then over here, clue 3 was angry customer. Let me speak to your manager at once. So this is showing a very angry customer
I would
taking
like
down.
to point out that is a death animation, so he sacrificed a character for this shot.
That's true. I hadn't even thinking about that. Yeah, he lost an entire character to get this screenshot. That is commitment.
That is commitment.
So clue number 4 was health code violation. Do you smell gas? So we've got a bloater cloud, the remnants of a bloater explosion there by the Swine and Bovine. I kind of like the fact that it looks like the Swine and Bovine character just let a massive one, and this is not a bloater at all. And then the 5th clue.
It's also what happens when you eat food from the
Swine and Bovine. Yeah, exactly. So clue number 5 was Heartburn. Something in those patties sets my insides on fire. So this is a plague heart inside a Swine and Bovine set on fire. It's kind of hard to see. You can sort of tell it's back there because
everything's on
fire. He set off so much fire. Kind of overdid it, but there you go. And then finally, clue number 6 was Trainee. Okay, newbie, let's start you in the register. So we got a couple people in Swine and Bovine trainee uniforms. One of them is actually Adam Survives himself, showing off his face. And he looks a little confused. He looks a little out of his element. Maybe it's because of the horrific, monstrous thing that's sitting there on the counter. So congratulations, Adam Survives. So what Adam Survives gets is this pillowcase full of candy and swag. But Adam Survives is not the only winner. So not only does he get, look in here.
He gets stuff.
Yeah, he gets this bag, this lovely canvas bag with, a water bottle. He gets a Heartland water bottle. He gets
Candy.
bunches of candy. But we've also got canvas bags like this that also contain a water bottle, that also contains some swag. And we're going to give these to 5 other people. So there's 5 runners-up who get this bag. And let's introduce you to them. So the first one is Big Lou.
And I have to say that Big Lou's screenshots were outstanding.
Yes, I mean look at the trainee.
I lost it when I saw that, because that reminded me of my first day at McDonald's many years ago.
And the crowd being on fire. The meat van pulled up. I mean, Big Lou did an amazing job, and we absolutely love the submission. Then after Big Lou, we've got Joseph Citrano. Joseph Citrano gave us these lovely nighttime shots, except that he also got the meat wagon, which is great with the little, the horns up front and everything. We've got, this is our angry customer howling at the counter, and of course the cow farts over at the Swine and Bovine. And not quite as much fire here on the heart, but still definitely in the right place. And you, go to the back. Go to the back and get us more plague samples right now.
Clean up on aisle 3.
So that's Joseph Citrano.
Congratulations.
Our next runner-up is Michelle Laybourne.
That's my favorite fire right there. The favorite fire shot that I saw.
I gotta say, it was actually really, really hard to choose winners on this, because everyone had at least one screenshot that was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
At least, in our group of runners-up. So we've got here's the drive-thru. We did it from the inside. See the car outside, see a zombie standing at the window,
That's right.
which is great.
No walk-ups.
And we lost a character for a screenshot. That
is an angry customer.
Yeah, exactly. Just ripping someone in half. It's stinky inside the restaurant in this one. And that fire screenshot is great.
Shot. That is such a great shot.
So that's Michelle Laybourne. And then we've got Paul Fiegner. Paul Fiegner got some lovely lighting here in this in the drive-thru shot.
That's right.
I think these are your angry customers stalking around outside. We've got the bloater explosion down below.
Great angle.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And then we got sparks and things flying.
That's an action shot there.
Yeah, is that one of the special, like, really powerful fire grenades that sets off all those sparks?
I think it looks like there was fire and fireworks.
What was that meat? The guy in the mascot outfit was holding a meat cleaver on his coworker, which was kind of horrific. And then finally, our last runner-up is Squish Roar. So Squish Roar, again, we've got a couple of pigs hanging out here in the fire.
That's an impressive shot.
They're like, this is fine.
I love that.
I love the wave. The wave from the employee is great.
It's so good.
We got this juggernaut trudging around outside. And then, I like the sort of sitting there bored on top of the car. It's like, gotta wait for these idiots up front to get their stupid, complicated order. And then, we've got a screamer hanging out outside. That's probably angry customer. And then again, massive cow farts. This is what's causing global warming, everyone. Massive cow farts. It's going to be the real end of the world. I can't say the word cow, apparently. Can't get that out of my mouth. Anyway, hi.
Technically, it's cow burps that are the problem.
Oh, that is true. It is cow burps. That's where the methane's coming from. Anyway, I should have ended on that character waving goodbye, because that was the right place to end. But congratulations to all of our winners, and thank you everyone who participated. We couldn't share all of the screenshots that we got because I just didn't have time today to put them all in OBS. But we got so many great submissions that we felt like we just didn't have enough prizes. But thank you so much, everyone who participated. And if you want to see even more submissions, we shared a few of them on last week's stream as well. You can go check that out too on YouTube or on our VODs on Twitch. But I guess let's go play for another 5 minutes before we go and announce the
Thanks
the
so
update.
much. The participation was fantastic. The screenshots were great. the decision was very difficult for us to make, but you guys all did a wonderful job, and congrats to the winner. I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know either. I'm trying to catch up on questions from the chat that we missed. So Shutter Fallmite wants to know, can we get more sassy voice lines like the ones that were in State of Decay 1?
Save that question for Andy. He'll be in next week.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure what you mean by sassy necessarily, because we do have a few voice lines now that do get kind of sassy, but that is a good question for Andy next week. So Andy lately he has been heading up our team that makes our smaller updates, and so he's going to be here to sort of walk through all of the content that we're going to eventually be sharing with you in our next update. So in just a few minutes, we're going to be talking about what that update is exactly. We won't be getting the details until later, but that's what Andy's going to be here for. But for right now, we'll be able to give you a sort of a high-level view of what it is, sort of the direction and the scale of what we got going on. So please stick around for another few minutes so that you can be here for that announcement. Let's see here. So the Nightingale says, what's wrong with his hair? And I don't know if Nightingale is talking about something else or if they're talking about my hair, but yeah, the mohawk just went a little limp today. I don't know what the deal is. This is actually very similar to the haircut of our UR specialist, our user research specialist. And so today I told him that I've stolen his haircut for the stream today.
Oh, I came up to the only place that I remembered there was a...
Have we already gotten it?
Rare
We
weapon.
probably came up here because we did that like jump off the cliff that one time.
That was a long time ago. Is this the same
I
game?
think this is the same game. We haven't come
Oh,
back
wow.
to this game in a while, yeah. Looks like we're falling behind on the messages here.
And we made it inconveniently tough to try and jump a car off this.
So Its Predator has a request. They'd love to see those sort of riot police uniforms that the zombies sometimes wear available for our characters. That's kind of a tough one because that looks like armor. And, you know, if we ever wanted to add actual functional armor to our game, we would want to save those models for when we actually added that feature,
Yeah.
you know, because having you put on armor cosmetically and then having that be separate from functional armor, it could be confusing and weird. And people will be like, well, I'm wearing police armor. How come I don't, have the benefits of police armor? So we're kind of holding off on that kind of thing for a while until we figure out if we're ever going to get the chance to do genuine armor.
And we were kind of pushing it with the army helmet, inclusion of the army helmets too. But
luckily, most of the enemies you fight in this game are not actually trying to attack your head specifically.
Yeah.
So that seemed like we could get away with it, but we don't want to go too much farther, at least until we know for sure where we're going to land on that whole like actual armor question. Let's see here. Matt Chewy98 wants to know, would you ever add more casual clothes, like more types of jackets or shirts? Hold that question a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Maybe till a little bit later in this month. But you know what? People are asking enough questions about later in this month. Why don't I just talk about it?
okay, I'm going to pause here.
Go ahead and
because
pause,
This is
yeah.
important.
Yeah, so Update 12 is going to be the Trumbull Valley Pack. It's another one of our smaller content pack focused updates. We're not going to do any like major feature revisions this time. We're not going to be adding like brand new things like the entire concept of outfits to the game. This is one of our smaller ones, but it's going to be focused on stuff from Heartland. So you're going to be seeing some of your favorite outfits that the characters in Heartland wear. Including new, like we're gonna have the original outfits, but also a ton of new variants of those outfits, different textures, different colors, different ways for them to look. We're gonna be seeing some of your favorite and most specialized weapons from Heartland. You'll be able to get those from the Bounty Broker. And so you won't have to necessarily jump through all the hoops that some people have been jumping through to get Heartland-only weapons into the game, where you have to like play in somebody's Heartland game in multiplayer, have them give you a Heartland weapon, and then you take it back into your community.
And then meet them later in their other community.
To like give it back to them and stuff. All of those gymnastics, at least for the particular weapons we're bringing over, are not going to be necessary. You'll be able to go do some bounties for the Bounty Broker and get those. And we're even going to unlock a way for you to create some of the weapons that Quincy is specialized in creating. So some of his, like I forgot what these were called, like the bat that's full of lead. Get that sucker, maybe a couple of the other ones. Actually, I shouldn't give you too many specifics, just in case one of them has a horrible problem and we have to cut it. But that's what you're going to be getting. So it's fairly small. It's content focused. But next week we're going to go into full detail. Check out all of the content that we're going to be offering. I can give you a little bit of a hint though. Aaron grabbed this screenshot off her
Nice.
game, and then I went through and redacted it so you can't see any of the content. But yeah, so there's going to be a Trumbull Valley pack available from the Bounty Broker. So you're gonna head over there. You'll see something very much like this, only with less blurring on the screen.
I thought that was just my eyesight.
Oh yeah, no, I meticulously. So I tried blurring the entire thing, and it just looked like a giant blob. And so I actually meticulously blurred each of the boxes, and I spent way too much time on it. So this is why you're not getting enough content from me, is because I spent time doing crap like this. But there you go. So the Trumbull Valley pack. Hope you guys get excited about it, because we're excited to bring it to you. Some of the clothing that was created for Heartland is some of the best clothing that our characters have ever worn in State of Decay 2. And so being able to bring a lot of that into the main game and have you guys, be able to wear things like, maybe there's a suit and tie in there. Maybe there's, like Helena's leather jacket was pretty cool. Remember Diana's insane hoodie? Maybe stuff like that might make it into the game. So, just let your imagination run wild, but not too wild, because we don't want to disappoint you. So yeah, let's see here. Yeah. So for those of you, who aren't particularly interested in new guns or new outfits, that's fine. Maybe this is for folks who are. I know, like, the way that I play State of Decay 2 right now in my home game, I'm very focused on the bounty broker and completing bounties and unlocking prizes and stuff like that. So this is right up my alley. If this isn't up your alley, basically just hold on a little bit longer, because we've got other things that we're working on that are going to come out later on that are bigger, that are grander. But in the meantime, we wanted to establish a habit, basically, of coming up with new updates every month. So there's a reason for us to just constantly be engaged with each other, for you to be coming back to the game, checking out what we've added to it, for us to be listening to you as you return to the game and give us feedback. And so doing these frequent updates, is really helpful for us. I think it's really helpful to keep this community and this relationship alive. And even though it takes a long time for us to come up with brand new features and some of the larger scale pieces of content that folks have been asking for. Some of those, we can't just come up with a new one of those every single month. That would be impossible. But so these smaller updates are our monthly thing, and then later on in the future, we'll hopefully be able to announce more stuff for you guys. So anyway, thank you. And if you have any very specific requests, by the way, any specific suggestions for things that you really want to see, you can go to support.stateofdecay.com, because not only is that where you can report bugs, there is a wish list that you can find pretty easily from the front end of it now. I don't think you have to click on the community tab anymore. I think it's pretty well highlighted. If there's things that you want to see, and you're like, the updates that you've been making so far are not my thing. What I want is this other, exciting thing. Go ahead and add to the wish list on there, or find the thing that you're wanting for. Maybe, somebody else has already written a wish list item. That's what you want. Go ahead and upvote that wish list item and let us know that that's what you're interested in. And that can inform our decisions in the future. So anyway, back to the game. And our chat has kind of died on us, so I'm trying to get it back.
In fact, I can't really talk about it.
Okay, so, so Dunadan actually asked for, let's see here. Yeah, my chat is still dead. Dunadan actually asked for that image we were using. This, let me go back to it again. Where is it? It's right here. This, asking for this as wallpaper. So that doesn't sound too crazy. So we'll have to figure out what's possible. But Megan said, Megan asked me, can I actually have that image to use as wallpaper? So I'll have to pass it around, see what we can do. We might not want to release it until the pack is actually out, but we'll see what we can pull off. That's not me saying that there's any kind of rule against it. I just don't know, and so I always want to be hedging around everything I say. Anyway, gameplay, right? We're playing a game right now. Let's go back to the gameplay.
Nothing interesting. I'm just searching cars.
Michael Robertson asks, was there always a police station base? Yeah, I believe so. We got a couple maps that have police stations that are not bases, and then one map that's got a police station that is a base. And so
that was in from day one.
So I can imagine that if somebody played in one of those other two maps, they might not have realized that there actually was a police station in the third map that had a base in it. But yeah, absolutely, there was always a police station. Oh, so Dunedin had a question. Are you revising core game code in any of these updates? Game footprint shrank. So I don't think that was about core game code, but yes, one of our updates, I forget which one it was, but if you read the patch notes, one of our updates very specifically shrank the footprint of the game on disk.
Yeah.
And that was something that actually Henry, our product director, took some time to figure out how to do because he'd been hearing all of the feedback people were giving that every time we issued an update, why is the update so big? Why is my game so big on my drive? And it turned out there were clever things we could do with compression to make that not be the case. And so he figured out those clever things and implemented them. And so now the game is significantly smaller, which is good. That gives us room to keep expanding it into the future. So ASRB Gaming asks, did Lily start the plague? I have a feeling she and her dad founded the plague. I'm hesitant to give a lot of specific answers about deep lore like that. But that one's enough out of left field. I'm like, no, we don't have any particular idea that Lily was the cause.
Lily is
of the plague.
The grand mastermind of all things evil.
Yeah, certainly there was no intentional action by Lily to cause the plague. Wherever the plague started, I'm pretty sure that if there were any humans involved, they probably died of the plague. So if Lily's still around, chances are she would have had nothing to do with it. But, this is not me speaking as official, expert on lore. If somebody in the future decides to retcon that out, they don't actually have to retcon because I'm not speaking officially as the voice of the game when I say that. So, whatever. We can do whatever we want in the future. Certainly right now, that's not the story we're trying to tell.
Okay, we're zombie free.
That would be sinister, though.
Yeah, there are a few people who have sort of a surprising level of hostility towards Lily, and probably would be gratified to hear that she's actually the secret villain of the entire game.
I would think that's the vocal minority at this point.
Yeah, there's a few people who have sort of long-standing frustration with Lily sort of bugging them as the voice of the mission system in the original game, but certainly that's not the role that she plays now in State of Decay 2, and I don't think there's any reason to be hostile towards her. Chris Goes to Paris says, I love Lily. So clearly, Lily's got her fans. Alchio Kid says, I feel sorry for Lily. Sailor Wolf loves Lily. Aberdini says, poor Lily. Yeah, exactly. Lily gets way too much of a bum rap. Steven Irizarry says, I'm pro-Red Talon. So you and Lily might have a concern, but on a different level from her personally. That's more of a factional dispute.
Yeah, that's a philosophical difference of opinions there.
Goldberg asks, can we please get a hot swap firearm button? That is something we've talked about. I'm not sure exactly where it fits into the schedule, but that is definitely something on our list that we would love to do. MRD Gaming says, how about a State of Decay Battle Royale mobile game?
Oh, boy.
I think there are enough Battle Royale mobile games out there. They don't need our help. They don't need us to get in there and try to tell them what to do. They've got their thing. We've got our thing. And our thing is actually like, there aren't a lot of games that are doing the thing that our game is doing. I feel like the last thing that we need to be doing right now is trying to imitate other games. Like, it's so hard to find a niche where you're making a game that isn't doing exactly what every other game in the world is doing. There's a lot of really clever people out there in the game industry coming up with some really good ideas, and it's hard to come up with something that they haven't already come up with. And so one of the things I loved about Undead Labs when I was first applying here was the fact that they had come up with this style of gameplay that was right up my alley that I had never been able to get before from any other game. So I think we're gonna stay in this little niche that we've carved out as long as we can, because it's such a kind of a special thing to have found something like that. Oh wow, he could turn on a dime, that Juggernaut.
Yeah, and he gave me a good talking to there.
Folks are asking for monster trucks. I don't know, maybe. Let's see what else we got going on here. So Fred Garvin asks, will bounties go away? or will they time out? So that's an interesting question, right? One thing that actually, after he takes down this juggernaut, maybe I can show you something real quick. But yeah, so if we keep adding bounties to the game, obviously there's not...
That didn't work.
There isn't infinite room in our UI to hold an infinite number of bounties. And so at some point in the future, we may very well need to retire old bounties and get them out of the way to make room for new bounties. And so if we do that, I imagine what it'll turn into is something like
My goodness.
maybe a little bit of a cycle. And this is just me, I'm not making any promises about how it's going to go, but one way we thought about doing it is to have it be a little bit of a cycle where we cycle out old bounties, bring in new ones, and eventually have a library of possible bounties, only some of which are available at any one time.
Oh, I just got the plague.
And then even after we, whoa!
Oh, I just got the plague even worse.
And then even after we hit the point where eventually, we're done updating this game and we sort of, tie a bow on it and say this was State of Decay 2, it's finished. We might still be able to keep cycling those bounties. We've done a really similar thing with State of Decay 1 Year 1 Survival Edition.
Yeah.
The Xbox Live challenges for that are still cycling to this day. That game has been out for what, 3-4 years, something like that. We've been at this for a while, and those challenges are still cycling to this day. And so I could imagine the bounties doing something like that. So so yes, I would not be surprised if some of our earlier categories in the Bounty Broker got retired, at least temporarily. But I also would be really surprised if they ever got retired permanently and you never saw them again. So there's kind of an answer for you, Fred. We got about 3 minutes left, so maybe time for us to catch, another question or two, and then get out of here. Sijao says it's not a good stream unless someone gets torn apart. They were very disappointed by your lack of death, Brant.
Well, we only got 3 characters in here, so... Trade with Enclave.
That's a make a
What
good
did they
Yeah,
got?
and no one in particular was encouraging you to run.
Let's see, I don't have much... Sorry, I'm not going to trade with you.
Blaze Experience...
Oh, we're at the end anyways. So.
Blaze Experience points out that actually, that whether people like the Bounty Broker or not, they got to appreciate the fact that he's clearly changing his clothes and showering more often than anyone else in the apocalypse.
Yes, it's very important to look snazzy, to look good.
Stephen Irizarry asks, is Twain a founding member of the network? We haven't gone into a lot of detail about the actual timeline of the network, though certainly Twain as the voice of the network over the radio is a pretty essential part to how it's grown and expanded over time. Whether or not he was there right at the very beginning, that's a question we haven't really attempted to answer, but he's certainly part and parcel of that organization now. Jason McKay asks, is update 12 the last update of the year? That's a very good question that I don't even know if I should answer exactly. No, we've actually said. No, I think Henry said on here that we're actually planning 2 more updates by the end of the year. So yeah, no, it's not the last update of the year. We're planning on doing another one. We might not know exactly what's in it yet, but...
Maybe one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we would have this update that we're announcing now and one more update. We're a total of 2 that have not yet come out. Possibly. That was the plan that Henry said on the stream of like a month or 2 ago. So
yeah, we're looking at schedules, and oddly enough, a lot of people take extra time around the holidays, so we may have to plan around that.
Yeah, so definitely one thing I would definitely say is don't expect anything like enormous to land before the end of the year. The sort of the small scale of update 12 is the kind of thing we're aiming at for the rest of the year. It's sometime next year that you should sort of expect some of the bigger stuff to start showing up. So keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, it is 4 o'clock, so we should get out of here. And I just realized I don't remember if I updated our outro text. So hopefully this won't be something embarrassing. In the meantime, thank you all so much for joining our stream. Thank you for supporting our game. We're looking forward to being able to share more about this update with you in the future. And hope you enjoy playing it.
Thanks, everybody. We love you.
Oh, good.
A reindeer antler impaler helmet?
Is that what somebody just
Big
suggested?
Lou!
Big Lou, just because you win a contest doesn't mean you get to ask us to do crazy
But
things.
I love it.